Can you even imagine the amount of mental health issues of all these unemployed people who can't get their lives together and they can't get a job because guess what? 3 months of quarantine put all their local businesses out of business, except for like Buffalo Wild Wings, who doesn't need a 42-year-old programmer who just got laid off to come serve wings. What's up, guys? My name is Brennan Tolman. I'm the other half of the Hobo entrepreneur. I'm usually kind of behind the camera doing the editing and the producing and directing. I wanted to just make a quick video. It's like 2 in the morning. I've been thinking a lot about the debate that the coronavirus has really thrust upon the nation. It's really ripped it in two. You've got the economy, kind of the pro-economy. Let's focus more on that side. And then you have the more public health, save as many people as you possibly can, regardless of what happens to the economy. And it's so interesting for me because I think that this actually has gone beyond just your classic Republican-Democrat debate. This is actually, I think that, you know, it's not really split down party lines. I think it's just bringing out this weird, interesting debate in people. And you've got some places like LA and New York that are like, do not leave the house or it's going to be a misdemeanor and you're in trouble or you have to get permission because we got to like slow the spread. And these tend to be, you know, I guess more liberal cities and states anyways. But then you have like in Utah where I am, you've got the governor who will not shut things down. He refuses to because he wants to, you know, he's more focused on helping the economy not tank, which would cause thousands of people, if not hundreds of thousands, to lose their jobs and lose their livelihoods and, you know, be upset, commit suicide, whatever. So it's this fascinating debate of, do we risk the economy and, you know, do we really understand what it means to move into a massive recession to help maybe more people, you know? And I don't know, it's just like I was on Facebook just barely, and it was interesting. There's a lady who owns a small hotel. And, you know, she's going to go out of business if her hotel doesn't stay full, right? And she can't keep turning those rooms. And so she posts on this yard sale group, hey, guys, you know, what better place to socially isolate than my hotel? You know, we have a remote check-in process. I'll get you a key and you and your family can go to these hot springs and whatever. And she got ripped to shreds on social media. People were like, what is wrong with you? You don't understand social distancing. You need to be at your house quarantined and you're a terrible person and you blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, this is a lady who has a livelihood and doesn't have the opportunity to work from home like a lot of you because this is her business. And she, you know, there's something called cash flow in a business. And I think that most employees in the world, which is like 95% of all people that have jobs, they're used to a regular paycheck. They're like, I have a job and I get a paycheck and it comes in the mail and boom. And they don't have any clue what their employer actually goes through, what books look like, and what cash flow looks like, right? And at the end of the day, cash flow is pretty simple. It's you know, I'm going to make $1,000 now from a client. I'm going to take some of that money. I'm going to take $800 and reinvest it into my business so I can make a better service for my clients. And eventually I'll take a profit. And but you know, sometimes the bank account's really high, sometimes it's really low. That's just called running a business. That's how it works. So in the wedding business, a quick anecdote here is I've had last week, for the first time ever, I had more brides come begging for their non-refundable deposit back than I had actual inquiries to shoot weddings. And we usually get hundreds of inquiries a week. And it was insane to me that, you know, I was like, this is exactly how the Great Depression started back in the, you know, it's like the 40s or the 30s or whatever it was. I don't remember. It's like 2 in the morning. But this is exactly how the Great Depression started. Is people started panicking. They pulled their money out of local businesses. They pulled their money out of the banks. They pulled their money out of everything. And suddenly the cash flow got so disrupted that people couldn't afford to pay their employees. They had to lay them off, which meant that, you know, that money that they pulled out, you know, and they hid under their mattress was suddenly all they had because the banks went out of business, and it was crazy stuff. And at the end of the day, I don't think that these 30 brides, they were going to go get their deposit back, even though they're still getting married at some point, and they were going to go buy toilet paper, and they were going to hoard it, right? And that's what they were planning on doing. These were the hoarders. that wanted their money back so they could go buy all this crap. And what they don't understand is actually how selfish that is. First of all, we didn't do it because, you know, it's illegal, right? We got a non-refundable deposit that they signed the contract, and so we said we're going to reschedule with you, and we're going to be as flexible as possible to reschedule, but you cannot get your deposit back, because if you have to reschedule your wedding for 5 years, okay, but you know, at the end of the day, we're not going to give you your deposit back because we've put a ton of work into scheduling and getting all ready for their wedding. But let's say that I gave 30 brides back, you know, or 50 their deposits. Well, suddenly my cash in the business is next to nothing because I'm constantly reinvesting it back in the business, back in my ads and everything. So guess what? I have 500 brides booked maybe. And this is all theoretical, but let's say I have 500 brides booked. Those 30 come back and beg for their money back. And before you know it, I have no cash. And you know, let's say theoretically we go out of business because we have no cash flow. We're not booking anything. All the money we have was just gone. So suddenly you have, you know, 470 brides who can't get their deposits back because we're out of business. And they also can't have us shoot their wedding at the end because we don't have any money to operate. So it's actually extremely selfish to go in and start begging for all these refunds and all. You know, I feel like if you have like a flight or vacation plan, the best thing to do for the economy is not to pull that money out and go spend it on freaking toilet paper. Don't even pull the money out. Leave it there and reschedule, so they can still have the money at some point, right? That business isn't totally screwed over by having to give you this massive refund, and then they go out of business, and then 98% of people who did not reschedule now don't have that service because the company is out of business. And you might be like one of those crazy people online that's like, well, if you don't have enough money to give some refunds, then you don't deserve to be in business. Those people have never run a business. I can promise you that. They have absolutely no idea what books look like. You know, if 30 brides puts me out of business, you know, we're talking 30 grand, right? That means that, you know, and I've collected 500 grand throughout the year, let's say, but my cash flow is like, I've got about 25, 30 grand like resting. That means that I have reinvested a ton of my money into ads and, you know, and equipment and training and all this stuff to make a better experience for them. Not that I'm draining the bank account myself and going out and buying, you know, Lamborghinis and left and right and stuff, right? And so I think that that's the misconception, is that cash flow is really tricky and complicated. Just ask any accountant. You know, your books and your cash flow are very complicated, and they're always changing, and it's very dynamic. And so pulling your money out of a business is the worst possible idea, in my opinion. And so I think that the state of Utah is doing things right, where they're shutting down like dine-in restaurants. They're reprioritizing how they actually, like what kind of medical procedures are able to be done, but they refuse to force a quarantine on people. So if people want to, you know, go pick up McDonald's or, you know, local business, or like one of my local theaters is selling popcorn at the side of the road for like at-home movie nights. They're trying to be creative because guess what? We want them to survive. If like, I blows my mind why all these like governors are having this pissing contest of who can be the most safe and shut down the longest. Why? Why are you bragging about your ability to absolutely destroy your economy? Like, who do you know that can just go 4 months without a job? And you might be like, oh, I'm good, I can work from home. Actually, your job probably isn't as safe as you think it is. And here's why. Because if customers can't, regardless of who they are, or what business you're in, if customers aren't out there spending money in your business, then your boss, who's letting you work from home and having all these sweet, you know, benefits, is going to have to either cut down your hours or lay you off because nobody's out spending the money. That's what people don't understand. The money has to come from somewhere. Your salary is paid by customers. And if you're like, keep them indoors, nobody should leave for 8 months. Okay, well, how are they supposed to spend their money? They're going to be in full-on panic mode, and toilet paper and, you know, hand sanitizer are going to be the only industries that actually boom right now. And then everyone else, including probably your employer, is going to have to either go out of business or severely, severely reduce payroll. And, you know, I'm not going to talk about government bailouts and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, it actually should be on every American's mind to get people out of their houses and spending. And you can still practice social distancing while doing that. Drive-throughs, like I went to Best Buy today to buy a microphone, and they had a table out front. You were not allowed in the store. You had to wait in a 6 feet apart line, and they basically were like, okay, what do you want? Give me the item number. They went and picked it up for you. They brought it to the front of the store. You purchased it. I didn't have to make contact really with anybody. They had hand sanitizer right there. He sanitized his hand. I sanitized my hands. Nobody was close to me. I got back in my car, and I went home. There are ways to keep the economy alive with social distancing. And so all I guess I'm really trying to say is I don't think that there's one right answer. I think that people who are like, oh, let everybody die and just help the economy, that's obviously wrong. But people who are like, we have to just quarantine for 3 months, they're going to like literally exit in their PJs 3 months from now to a million bankruptcy signs. And probably they won't have a job, to tell you the truth, because nobody has been spending money because they've been hoarding it, because they've been terrified because the government has taken such extreme measures. So that's just kind of my opinion, is that everybody, there should not be shaming. Absolutely not. I think that people should understand that businesses are doing what they can. If you're in business and if you've been in business, what it actually means is that you have found a way to provide value for somebody else. So that local movie theater, they're not a chain. And they have found for the last 50 years a way to provide the value that a big chain can't. And in my opinion, they deserve to stay in business. And I just, I hope people understand, like, yes, this is a serious medical emergency, but so many people's livelihoods are at stake. And if we have to start over again, in the bottom of a recession because we quarantined for 8 months, like, Governor Cuomo was talking about, or mayor, I don't know what he is, but the New York guy, 8-month quarantine. I mean, you're scaring people into not spending their money, which means that they're going to get laid off, because their bosses can't afford to, keep the company running with paying them such a high wage. And so at the end of the day, I know plenty of people who are affected by this and who have no jobs, and they still have to pay their rent. And sure, maybe there's bills that are going to get passed to help people, but at the end of the day, I'm sorry guys, the government just moves so slow. And businesses tend to move very fast or they die. And so putting all your money on the big government to write you a check, yeah, that could take months. And I don't know how many people actually have, I mean, statistically, it's like less than, I think, 10% of people, and it might be actually less than that, have the amount of money to be able to survive even 1 month without a job. And so you got all these people who are like, let's protect the public health, but at the same time, it's going to wreck public health in a very different way if the economy drops. Can you even imagine the amount of mental health issues of all these unemployed people who can't get their lives together and they can't get a job because guess what? 3 months of quarantine put all their local businesses out of business, except for like Buffalo Wild Wings, who doesn't need a 42-year-old programmer who just got laid off to come serve wings. And so at the end of the day, it's just that it's a balancing act. And so I look at President Trump, and not to get super political, but I think that's what he's trying to do, and that's what our leaders are trying to do. And leaning one way to any extreme is going to damage everyone's lives. And there's kind of like, that there's the get hurt now with the virus, but what they're not seeing is if they try to prevent that to the utmost extreme by keeping everybody indoors, you're going to hurt a lot of people's mental health later when they have no jobs and they feel like losers because they can't. I mean, just go back and look at people who got laid off and all those statistics in 2008 and 2009 in that recession, and that wasn't even a horrible one. So, like I don't know if there's like an invitation, but at the end of the day, there's just kind of like, those are my soapboxy thoughts on finding the perfect balance between keeping the economy alive and thriving. I think that the goal of every leader should be to keep as many businesses in business as possible, even during social distancing. Today, shutting down non-essential businesses is the absolute worst thing that you can possibly do for your own local economy, and I promise you, just wait and see. I think trying to keep as many businesses as open while suspending the ones that are most at risk, like we've done in Utah, no dine-in, is the absolute way to go during this. So just kind of some thoughts there from an actual business owner on obviously it's my opinion, but I think that there is a middle ground, and I think that the sooner we find that, the sooner we're going to find ourselves in a better economic and health situation.